Hi guys, thanks for tuning back into a little bit more of Crenshaw. If you're following along, we're on chapter 29, page 135. Crenshaw and I didn't chat much during those weeks on the road. There was always someone around to interrupt us. But that was okay. I knew he was there, and that was enough. Sometimes that's all you really need from a friend. When I think about that time, what I remember most of all is Crenshaw riding on top of our minivan. I'd stare out the window at the world blurring past, and every so often I'd catch a glimpse of his tail, riding the wind like the end of a kite. I'd feel hopeful then, for a while at least, that things would get better, that maybe, just maybe, anything was possible. Chapter 30. I guess for most kids, imaginary friends just sort of fade away, the way dreams do. I've asked people when their imaginary friends stopped hanging around and they never seem to remember. Everybody said the same thing. I guess I just outgrew him. But I lost Crenshaw all of a sudden after things got back to normal. It was like when you have a favorite t-shirt that you've worn forever. One day you put it on and surprise, your belly button is showing. You don't remember growing too big for your shirt, but sure enough, there's your belly button sticking out for the whole wide world to see. The day we left, Crenshaw walked to school with me. He did that most mornings unless he wanted to stay home and watch Blue's Clues reruns. We stopped at the playground. I was telling him about how I wanted to get a real cat someday. That was before I found out my parents are extremely allergic to cats. Crenshaw stood on his head. Then he did a cartwheel. He was an excellent cartwheeler. When he came to a stop, he gave me a grumpy look. "I'm a cat," he said. "I know," I said. "I'm a real cat." His tail whipped up and down. I said, a cat other people can see. He batted a paw at a yellow butterfly. I could tell he was ignoring me. A bunch of fun guys, a bunch of big guys, fourth and fifth graders walked by. They pointed at me and laughed, making cuckoo circles with their fingers. "Who are you talking to, doofus?" one asked, and then he snort laughed. That was my least favorite kind of laughing. I pretended not to hear him. I knelt down and tied my shoe like it was a very important thing that I had to do. My face was hot, my eyes were wet. I'd never been embarrassed about having an imaginary friend until that moment. I waited, the boys moved on. Then I heard someone else approaching. She wasn't walking, more like skip dancing. "Hi, I'm Marisol," said the girl. I'd seen her at recess before. She had long, dark, crazy hair and an unusually large smile. "I have a Tyrannosaurus backpack just like yours. I'm going to be a paleontologist when I grow up, which means—" "I know what it means," I said. "I want to be one too, or maybe a bat scientist." Her smile got even bigger. "I'm Jackson," I said, and I stood. And when I looked around me, I realized that Crenshaw had vanished. Chapter 31. I've sometimes wondered if I was kind of old to have an imaginary friend. Crenshaw didn't even show up in my life until the end of first grade. So one day at the library, I looked it up. Turns out, somebody did a study on children and their imaginary friends. Fact is, 31% of them had an imaginary friend at age 6 or 7. Even more than 3 and 4-year-olds. Maybe I wasn't so old after all. In any case, Crenshaw had excellent timing. He came into my life just when I needed him to. It was a good time to have a friend, even if he was imaginary. Part 3. The world is so you have something to stand on. Chapter 32. It occurred to me that Crenshaw's return, the night of the kiddie bubble bath, as I came to think of it, might be a sign that I was right about my parents. It was coming again, the moving, the craziness, maybe even the homelessness. I told myself I'd just have to face facts and make the best of it. It wouldn't be the first time we'd hit a rough spot. Still, and all, I'd been hoping to get Mrs. Leach for 5th grade. Everybody said She liked to explode stuff for science experiments. And Marisol and I had our dog walking business going pretty well. And I'd been looking forward to trying out the new skate park when they got it built in January. And maybe even doing rec soccer if we could come up with some money for a uniform. It would be easier for Robin. You could move her anywhere and she'd be fine. She made friends in an instant. She didn't have to worry about real stuff. She was still a kid. I lay on my mattress as the list of things I was going to miss kept getting longer. I told my brain to take a time out. Sometimes that actually works, but not so much this round. Last year, my principal told me I was an old soul. I asked what that meant, and he said I seemed wise beyond my years. He said it was a compliment, that he liked the way I always knew when someone needed help with fractions, or the way I emptied the pencil sharpener without being asked. That's the way I am at home too, most of the time anyway. Sometimes I feel like the most grown-up one in the house, which is why it seemed like my parents should have known that they could talk to me about grown-up stuff, and why it seemed like they should tell me the truth about moving. Last fall, a big raccoon got into our apartment through an open window. It was 2 in the morning. Aretha barked like a maniac, and we all ran to see what was wrong. The raccoon was in the kitchen, examining a piece of Aretha's dog chow. He held it in his little hands proudly, like he discovered a big brown diamond. He was not even a tiny bit afraid of us. He nibbled his diamond carefully. He seemed glad that we joined him for dinner. Aretha leaped onto the couch. She was barking so loud I thought my ears would fall off. Robin ran to get her baby buggy in case the raccoon wanted to go for a ride. My mom called 911 to report a home invasion. And my dad, who only had on his sock monkey pajama bottoms, turned on his electric guitar and made this ear-splitting screechy sound to scare off the raccoon. Don't you dare go near that animal, my mom warned Robin. She pointed to her cell phone and shushed us. Yes, officer, yes. 68 Quiet Moon, apartment 132. No, he's not attacking anyone. He's eating dog food. Dog chow? Actually, not the wet kind. Kids, stay away. He could be rabid. He's not a rabbit, Mommy, Robin said as she wheeled her baby buggy in circles around the living room. I'm pretty sure he's a beaver. For a while, I just watched them all go crazy. It was kind of entertaining. Finally, I whistled. I have a really good whistle for a kid. I used my pinky fingers. Everyone stopped and stared, even the raccoon. Guys, just sit on the couch, I said. I've got this. I walked to the front door and opened it. That's all I did, just open it. Fog drifted, frogs chatted. The waiting world was calm. Everyone sat on the couch. I kept Aretha quiet with her squirrel chew toy. It was covered with dog slobber. We watched the raccoon finish his food. When he was done, he waddled past us like he owned the place and headed for the open door. He glanced over his shoulder before he left. I could almost hear him mutter, "Next time, I go to a different place. This family is nuts." Lately, I felt like I always had to be on alert for the next raccoon invasion. All right, we will pick up on chapter 33 next time. Happy reading!